Welcome to LDC Now, episode 7. We are established by and for the Linux Distro Community and supporters of free open source software. Don't forget to interface with our magnificent mothership at www.linuxdistrocommunity.com. Chat with us on RC, join us on the forums, or shoot at us on game nights. It's about damn time for beer. Oh, and LCD. LCD? LSD? Oh fuck. LSD? No, LDC now. And take it Morningstar. God forsake, take it away.
Oh, this is going to be a long episode.
How you guys doing?
Good, how was your guys' holidays?
Long. I'm glad it's over.
I hate holidays, man. I'm just not. I don't like Christmas. I like the time off. I like to sort of kick back and drink and have fun, but otherwise, dude, I'm just not in the consumerism mood. But I'm happy to be here, doing another show for the Linux Distro Community and everybody else here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this show all week, so glad to be here. How you doing, Irish?
I am doing good. I just sat down, got my cup of whiskey, and I'm ready to do this.
What kind of whiskey in general?
I'm gonna have Maker's Mark. It's a pretty good whiskey.
Oh, you got the good shit. Sorry. Okay, this show is brought to you by Young Chocolate Stout, Leinenkugels, and Maker's Mark, and whatever the hell Morningstar has.
Yeah, I'm just drinking a nice dark porter from a local brewery in my area.
Yeah, man, Maker's Mark's expensive, but Morningstar, take this away, dude. Organize us. Do something with us, for God's sake. Help us.
Man, you know I'm filming the chat room. I guess it's going to be up to Irish to tell us what the agenda is going to be tonight.
Well, it's like a year-end show, so we're going to talk about an app pick called Tomb. Kleptos will definitely let us know what that is. We're going to, talk about some Linux blunders that we've had in the past. And then I thought we would round it out with our 2015 predictions and see what the hell Linux is going to come to next year.
World domination.
That's right.
That's right. That sounds damn good. World domination. Yeah.
Skynet will rise.
Oh, don't say Skynet. They're listening. Shh.
You mentioned Tomb. This is one of my favorite applications, and I use Lux encryption for a lot of different things, for containers, for partitions, for backup, for everything, for holding things that I don't want other people to see. And for those of you who are listening, you can check it out at dyn.org/software/tomb. And they say it's a file encryption on Linux, the crypto undertaker. And of course, 100% free and open source software using software that is baked into the Linux kernel, and so that you know that it's secure. This is, of course, Linux encryption, but the way they do it is just so damn awesome, and so damn secure at the same time, using terminology that you can remember, not just some sort of terminology that comes from man pages, but terminology you can remember.
The other thing, too, is we can definitely put a link in the show notes to that website for people.
Yeah, here's how this starts out, okay? Let's say you want to create a 100 meg tomb called Secret. I don't know why you wouldn't want to call it Secret, but they say this on the website. It's just simple. You want to dig your tomb. It's tomb dig /s100, which is the space, the file size, secret.tomb. And then you dig your tomb. And then you forge your tomb. You forge tomb, forge, secret tomb .key, and that's your key. And you lock it. I mean, this is pretty easy to use terminology. But the newest version they came out with has a great feature. Now, what you can do with your key is you don't have to have your key just laying around, somewhere. Of course, you could put it on another machine. You could SSH and cat that key to open up your tomb. But a great thing to do that they mention is to actually use steganography. Oh, I can't believe I said that when I'm so hammered. Steganography. Now I can't say it anymore. Damn it. Okay, it's called steg hide. Okay, steg hide, steganography. You basically hide your key into a picture, a JPG or a GIF or whatever have you. That way you hide your key. And so that way your key's not laying around on your file system and you can put it somewhere securely. It hides the key inside an image. Before, you had to extract the key from the image to open up your tomb. But now with the new version, you could just use that JPG, GIF, or other type of image to open your tomb very easily. And of course, it will ask you to stop your swap files because, of course, this is using memory, and so you don't want to sort of keep yourself sort of secure by not using the swap file. That way, it doesn't write anything to the swap that has to do with your key or your tomb. And God, I'm hammered, but I'm trying to explain this as best I can. But this is an awesome piece of software. Another awesome piece of software is called ZuluCrypt that also uses the tomb technology. Any of you guys tried this out yet?
I actually haven't. I think that's actually a really awesome piece of software. I'll have to look into Tomb more. This is actually the first time I've heard about this, so I can see a lot of awesome uses for it. And I like the fact of being able to hide it in a JPEG. I think that's great.
So, a good question. What would happen if you just accidentally goofed and deleted the picture that the key was in, or just lost your key? Do you just have to create a new one, or can you start over?
Yeah, once you lose your key, that's pretty much it. You do have to start over. But what you can do, they have multiple options as far as, like I said, put it in a JPEG or GIF or whatever have you. But you can also create a QR code and keep that on you. That way you won't lose it. And then you can use any type of software to run that QR code and to get the key from that. So they do have options.
Can you put the key on like a USB stick also?
Oh yeah, I mean, you could put it wherever you want to put it. I mean, you could put it on the server or wherever have you, so it doesn't matter, but they do have different options.
So kleptos, I'm assuming you use this software.
Oh yeah, many times.
What are some great practical uses for Tomb?
Well, okay, what this is basically is, looks encryption, looks containers. And so let's say if you want to put some important information somewhere, and you could slap it to a Dropbox, okay? It's secure. And so let's say your key is somewhere else, but your tomb is on the Dropbox. Well, they can't open the tomb without the key. And so it's pretty nice to where if you put whether your backups or whatever have you inside the tomb. I mean, it's just a looks container that you can mount essentially and put everything, all the files and stuff you want on there, and then close that tomb and put it wherever you want to and put the key someplace else. It's in the same fashion of, let's say, having a Luke's partition, and you open that up with a password. Same sort of idea, same technology.
So you can increase the tomb size, correct? But you just can't decrease it?
Exactly. Most of my tombs are about a gig size or so, but like I said, you can increase the size, but you can't decrease the size.
Yeah, definitely gonna, it'll be my New Year's project is to create a tomb.
No, I think, in the sort of post-Prism world, we need encryption like this. Very easy to use encryption to where we can put our little important bits on little tombs everywhere. It doesn't have to be everything in one tomb. You could just make like a bunch of 100 meg tombs and put all your stuff in there. It's really great because they can't open up the tomb without the key. And the key you can put into anything you want to, and so you keep it on the side, and it's very easy to use, especially for newbies, to do this. and using technology that is open source and software that is baked into the Linux kernel like crypt setup. And so at the same time, it's not something sort of nebulous that like TrueCrypt or anything else that you really, there's been audits done, but at the same time, you don't know if you trust it 100%. This is pretty straightforward and 100% open source and on GitHub.
I actually think it's great too, the difference in using something like TrueCrypt and using something like Tomb. Tomb is easily accessible to anybody who has a need to have an encrypted package. I think that's great.
Is there a website that people should go to for like a step-by-step on how to create a Tomb?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course you can get the software pretty much anywhere. It's on GitHub. But if you go to dyne.org/software/tomb, it has all the information as well as the whole steps. But once you get the software itself, it also gives you the steps to do everything, and so it's very easy to use and very straightforward.
Well, that's definitely a handy tool, especially in today's world.
So what else do we have on the agenda, guys? We're going to look into some blunders, or are we...
Hey, that's fine. Let's see what Kleptos has done while intoxicated or not. See how much he borked his system.
Oh, I mean, you guys are going to start with me, man. That's cold-blooded, okay?
Hey, you're the most entertaining.
All right. My number one total blunder, and I regret this to this very day. Okay, I had 2 USB drives hooked up. One was just a 16 gigabyte thumb drive that I was going to slap some Linux on. One was a 4 terabyte drive that I had a lot of important stuff on. Okay, and so there's this program I was running to format the thumb drive. Well, I don't know what happened, but I formatted 4 terabytes of important information instead of my thumb drive. And so, in the middle of while I was formatting, I'm like, this format's taking way too long for a 16 gigabyte thumb drive. And I'm like, then I see, it's /dev/SD, whatever have you, and it didn't use the actual label. It used the dev. And I'm like, oh god, no! And so I go and like a dumbass, I unplug it, instead of letting it do what it's going to do, and then I can go ahead and restore back, using some sort of some software. I pulled it out halfway between formatting, totally destroying any attempts of getting that information back, and it drove me to where I had a lump in my throat and tears almost came out.
That's a pretty good blunder. I like that one.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad one. I have one, probably not as bad, but it's quite embarrassing because it happened relatively when I first started using Linux.
Tell it.
Yeah, I recently got the computer that I'm on. It's a Dell Inspiron 15, and it came with Windows 8. And, I was experimenting with Linux at the time on virtual machines, so I decided to dual boot on here. So I had I started with Ubuntu, and then I moved to Fedora. So it was nicely set up. I could switch from Fedora to Windows and vice versa. So I decided to go back to like an Ubuntu derivative. So during the because I wanted to do like a triple boot, or replace Fedora with Ubuntu. So I went through the installer and it says put Mint or whatever I was trying to run alongside Windows. I'm like, sure. No, it didn't do that. It decided to wipe my entire system, and so I lost a lot of stuff on that one.
You loser.
Hey, at least I didn't format anything.
I got one for you guys. And I know we talked about this a little bit briefly in one of the older shows, and I got another great one that involves the word root. But I'm going to mention this one that I did with OpenSUSE, where I was looking to remove the packages that were orphaned that I wasn't using, and so used to Arch where I can just RNS stuff. So I use Orphan RPM or RPN Orphan and removed half my system. I thought that was actually a really, really great.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Nah, I got another one for you. I've in the land of Linux, I've had some frustration because of user error. All right, here's a good one. All right, now this is on Arch. Okay, after a kernel update and an X update, I go reboot and Catalyst gives me a black screen, automatic. And after messing around a while and trying to install Catalyst again, install everything else again, you know, I was pretty new to Arch at that particular time. I could not get everything. I couldn't get it back to boot to X, and so at some point in time, I just lost it, and I went in caveman mode, and I almost destroyed my laptop with a bat. I got so mad, so frustrated, and my stomach started hurting. I just started beating my laptop. and needless to say, I didn't need to install Catalyst on it again.
So after beating with a bat, it held up and you could install Catalyst again. That's a pretty good laptop.
No. After which, I didn't need to install Catalyst again. There was no need to have X on it either. It was done.
So did you take this laptop out to a field, have rap music going on while you and your friends beat it with a bat?
No. When you're in your caveman mode, you're just so angry and so mad that things aren't working, and that you beat it, but then you come to your senses. You're like, oh no! But it's way too late for that.
So I got this one that's great that involves root. I was unable, for whatever reason, I was trying to use a login manager. And when I had set up my Exinit RC, I had set it up while in the root account, so therefore it was set up for root only. And I, for whatever reason, this is earlier on in my early days of Arch Linux. And so I couldn't figure out how to get the login manager to log into a normal user because that user had no Exinit RC. So I decided to run as root. There's not much else I can say about that. I found that every time I changed something and tried to log in as a normal user later, oh man, running as root just messes up so many things.
Yeah.
Morningstar, I know you got another one, man. Don't lie to us. I know you got another one.
Other than the time I did something similar and formatted a git terabyte of important data, I could come up with a lot if I had time to think about them. I want to hear one from Irish if he's got one.
Yeah, Irish, go ahead, man.
Well, unlike you guys, after that, my mistake before, I didn't really make any major blunders like that. When I first moved over to Arch Linux, I think I formatted or I set up my partitions incorrectly, and I had to start all over again.
I got one. Linux from scratch. The first time I did Linux from scratch, cross-compiled. I don't know if you guys know how much of a headache that can be. But I set up the whole cross-compiler. I go to install Grub, and I install it to like an SDA1 instead of SDA, so that it's actually on the whole hard drive. And then I reboot, and I lost about 48 hours worth of work that I had done from the live CD.
Ouch,
Wow.
man.
One of my friends, one of the first guys I met when I first went into Linux, this was actually on a forum post that I saw. Someone deleted their user/bin folder.
That's a good one.
No, it's kind of bad because I've seen, like, you go on forums and people try to tell you what to do to fix your system, and then you just copy-paste a bunch of stuff in there, you're hoping that it will work, and it comes out bad. I've had a situation where I was logged in as root, and I was trying to just delete a basic folder in my downloads folder called etc. It was just called etc. So it would have been easy enough to type, etc/, and that would remove that folder. But what did I do as root? I removed the real etc folder /etc, and then I try to back up. I try to bring back that etc folder from my backup and downloads, which I tried to remove from the first place, but finding that had symlinks that no longer existed all throughout that folder. And so I just restored a backup of the partition instead because it was impossible.
Yeah, things as root are always interesting when you make a mistake as root. A little bit. I remember doing stuff, running as root for a while. I don't know why I ran as root. I thought, I can't get it to run it as a normal user. I'm gonna run as root because that's just cool. And then, God, man, the nightmare of just the running graphical applications as root is just not. It's not smart.
Well, running really anything under root's not a good thing.
No, because whatever mistake you make as a user level, okay, you can only do so much. You can only ruin so much as a user level. But when you're a root, you can just ruin everything. But I'm gonna give you my 2004 favorite Linux bits. The thing that I loved and I used to perfection in 2014, and that was ButterFS and Snapper. ButterFS and Snapper, I love you. I love you. I really do, man. I love you. ButterFS and Snapper have saved my arse so many times. I mean, booting into a ButterFS snapshot from Grub and OpenSUSE and rolling back the changes with one command was just killer. Mounting snapshots, div tools, etc. It's just been just totally wonderful for me in 2014. Of course, ButterFS can kind of eat your drive, but with OpenSUSE it has time scrubbing, defrag tools, everything else, and so I really do anything manual with ButterFS these days, and I love it. And ButterFS will own in 2014. There, I said it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something I have really found extra useful in 2014. I think a big one was learning to get really, really comfortable messing around with config files and Apache servers. I actually have gained a ton of new tools for Linux in this last year, along with MariaDB and aliases. I mean, those are great.
Oh yeah, that's one of the after Kleptos told us about aliases, I went in and I have so many aliases now. It's not even funny.
I think the cool thing about going to 2015 is the sort of experience you had in 2014, to where you it's like you knew about Linux in 2014, but the progression that you had in 2014 going into 2015, it's like some people when you first come to Linux, it's way too big for you. It's way too much going on, and you can't master it all. But once you sort of master one aspect of Linux in 2014, going towards 2015, it makes you way more confident than you were before, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot in this year. I've found myself getting a lot more involved in the nitty-gritty of my system, and having been to the point of getting away from desktop environments into window managers and setting up things in different config files and languages. Dude, there's so much that I can take from this year. And Irish, you've done a lot of new things too this year.
Oh yeah, as same thing with Morning. I went more into the nitty-gritty of my system. I configured i3 the way I liked it now that I have, Conky piped into the i3 bar. I started experimenting with Awesome Window Manager and, configuring it in Lua. There's so many things that I've done that I'm shocked that I've done so quickly, because again, I've only been on Linux for not even 2 years now. It will be 2 years in March or something like that. So it's really cool. Hopefully I can, grow more as a Linux user and help people and everything like that.
I read in the forums every day where people are like, okay, what should I learn now? At one point in time, I forget who it was, they were going to learn bash scripting in the forums, and they went to something else later, and something else later, and something else later. And at some point in time, you reach a level on Linux where you feel comfortable, you feel good. You're not master of the universe. You're not totally elite, at any point in time. but you just feel comfortable, like you know what the hell you're doing. And I think everyone needs to try Arch one or twice in their lives to learn from Arch. I started on Slackware, but Arch, you learn how to fix stuff in Arch, man. It's like you learn. Okay, I could tell. Okay, this Perl update messed this applications up. Okay, do I need to roll back, or could I fix this problem? And you become more comfortable in it. And as we get to the Linux future projections, before that, I think that we all need to learn more about our systems and not take them for granted and get bogged down into the GUI aspects of things and get hands-on.
Yeah, I definitely feel like picking something and coping with it until it's as I want it has been one of the best choices I've made in Linux, instead of just paving and trying something new or trying something until I find something easy enough to work. Forcing myself to really sit down and learn a topic has been, that's been irreplaceable. It's been priceless.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think Linux will be like in like any predictions for Linux in 2015?
Spaceships.
Like any distros that will be, popping up, like exploding or anything like that?
I actually wonder what'll become of Ubuntu will they do the System D move? That's something I've heard about coming for a while, but I expected it in the last release, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I think it's Ubuntu is with Debian, so whenever Debian makes the switch, Ubuntu will shortly follow. I think they're gonna go to System D in what was it 1510 or something like that?
Yeah, I heard you talking about Debian moving too. That's gonna change a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, since now with System D and Debian, there's so many people who got all types of pissed off and decided to fork Debian. So I'm thinking, because of System D is such a touchy subject, I think a lot of people might go over to BSD or go to the unknown distros like Netrunner or Voyager or any one of those, or even PCBSD, FreeBSD, all of those too.
All right, I'm gonna give you guys my predictions, and I want you to comment on them. Okay, and these are just Linux in general specific. Number one, Linux being a free platform for developers will continue to succeed in 2015. Microsoft Windows goes through radical changes, like with the whole Metro thing and the whole trying to be a tablet OS when it's a desktop OS. And it also has way too many barriers for entry for developers. So I think it will succeed even further in 2015. Any thoughts on that one?
Totally. I have shared the belief that with what I've seen skyrocket in Linux use and Linux, just the amount of people picking it up and saying, oh, people say this is good, I'm going to try it. And the mistakes that some of these other big, giant companies have made. I think that in 2015, we are going to see a lot more machines made with Linux, made to run Linux. And I think we'll see a huge rise in users.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think even I saw some of the preview of Windows 10 or whatever the hell it's called now, and they're bringing in a lot of features and stuff like that you may see in Linux. So I'm thinking that Linux has such a influence on the tech world that you're going to see so many machines running Linux, more servers, more countries or cities switching over to Linux, and it's just going to grow to, again, world domination.
Yeah, dude, seriously, all these companies like China that's making their own version of Linux, I think Korea was doing something similar. When an entire country moves their whole government platform over to this, hell yeah, we win, dude.
That's actually on my list. Number two, countries will continue to adopt Linux in a post-Stuxnet/Prism era. Windows is highly insecure and closed off to inspection. And when you're closed off to inspection, closed off to auditing, under the guise of, this is our business, this is our business model, there's going to be a problem. And now we know all about Prism. We know all about all the different malware that's government-based, government-backed malware. People are going to move to Linux. It's just given.
Yeah, I think they actually run Linux even on the International Space Station too. So we're even like almost galactic domination.
Dude, we're gonna make little droids. C3PO and R2D2 are coming, man.
All right, now my number 3. I wonder how people will think about this one. Wayland will have a rocky road to a smashing success. Almost any time Linux reaches a major transition point, things get ugly, but the evolution leads to great new ideas. Now, I've seen this before. I saw this when X was a baby. Xorg was a baby, coming out of the womb, and people were like, we don't need no graphics stuff, and now today we don't need System D, it's too heavy, it's just that and the other. And I think we're in a major transition point with Linux, and I think Wayland, of course, is heavily developed, heavily tested. We'll have a bit of a rocky road to major adoption, but it'll be a smashing success. And I think that we're in a time period where Linux will shine, but it's kind of like the changes will kind of shake some of the Linux users to their foundation.
I would love to say too that I predict that in 2015 Wayland will rise to power, but I mean, I'd like to see it happen. I just wonder what you guys think about the whole Wayland thing. Where do you think that's going in the next year?
I don't know if it's going to be like a mass adoption. I think we're still like a few years past that. I think, what for me, like this whole System D thing is people don't like major change, because they already know like the old init system. Oh no, I don't want to learn something new, even though it's simpler and whatever. But I think that Xorg and Wayland will be almost equal, if not Xorg being, even more than Wayland for a long time.
I definitely messed around with Wayland a little bit. It's getting to be usable. It's pretty cool. I like the whole Hawaii thing too. It makes it pretty nice.
All right, now this one's gonna piss people off. The Internet of Things will use Linux. Sadly, your appliances will be networked and communicating with each other, so the power companies can bill you appropriately. People were totally shocked with the Raspberry Pi and how they showed the world what Linux can do and the possibilities of embedded systems and software. I think that for those people who aren't familiar, the Internet of Things came from a former guy in the CIA talking about how everything will be networked. Whether it's your alarm system, your appliances, your television, your washer, dryer, your refrigerator, everything will be networked. And now that we see how the Raspberry Pi was, it would be very easy for them to use some sort of embedded Linux with a Raspberry Pi type system, networking each other and networking up to the smart grid.
I think that, definitely seeing ARM devices is going to be a huge growth in 2015. I expect ARM devices for all sorts of things.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a boom in like the Raspberry Pi or Banana Pi or Adreno or where the hell the Pis are now. But I do like the idea how I could probably hack into my toaster and make it do stuff that it can't do.
Yeah, it'll be weird, but it'll be interesting. But number 5 is my want. This is what I really want. I think will happen, if not 2015, 2016. Virtualization and container technology will be very important in 2015 to 16. Then a universal meta binary and universal app repository could be established. App stores are lame, pathetic, and we shouldn't imitate bad ideas coming from other software systems, operating systems. I think that using virtualization and container technology, you could make like a meta package or a meta binary that would work on all Unix systems, all distros across the board. Where let's say if if I wanted to use Mumble and I'm on this distro and it doesn't have it in the package, you could link up all the libs, all the binaries, all the config files, everything into one big meta binary, and it will run on everything Linux. That would be so awesome, wouldn't it?
That would actually be really, really rad. That would change the whole ball game to me.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of that. I was getting more drink.
Oh, come on, man! You gotta listen to the show. How are you?
All right. Let me say this again because it's so awesome. I'm going to say it again. Okay, virtualization and container technology. Imagine using both of those technologies and having a universal meta binary or a universal app repository across Linux distros. Okay, one meta binary with all your apps, all your libs, all your config files. Imagine an entire distro or an entire major application and one binary that runs across I mean not even across platform but across all Linux distros, regardless of what you're running. As long as you run Linux, you can run it.
Dude, I think the other thing about that too that's going to change a lot of stuff is that we'll start seeing some out of a randomness of this, but some standardization to packaging too. I mean, that could change a lot of things.
This is really what I want to see. Before everyone else jumps on the bandwagon, like Microsoft Windows and the like, and their ilk, I think that it could happen. There may be a lot of waves made because of it, but in the end, it would be so great, so awesome, and it would further Linux, and it would get more adoption, it would get more love, it would get more eyeballs. I would be so great that people would have no choice but to look at Linux.
I got one too. With the whole open sourcing of the net framework and the whole decline of people, the whole Windows 8, they lost a lot of momentum. What do you guys think that some of these other companies might start open sourcing, or do you think that they'll start open sourcing more things?
I think we'll see maybe a few more bigger companies open source, but I don't think it's going to be like a revolution or anything like that.
See, my problem when it comes to that is that the sort of the way they look at their market, it's almost territorial, and so most companies do not want to open up their markets to other competitors. That's how they see them. They see them as other competitors, and so if they open source their applications, they're opening up themselves to to other competitors. But the way people who are in the sort of Linux BSD sort of free open source software, the way they look at it as beneficial, as everyone benefiting. So sure, I'm sure there'll be plenty of adoption of open source software in 2015, but when it comes to some of these major names, I don't think it's going to happen. In gaming it might happen, just because open standards sort of opens the way for better games. But for these major companies, it's probably not going to happen.
All right.
Okay, all right. This is going to be a bigger one. Do you think we're going to see more when a major title of a video game comes out? You think it'll be the consoles, PC, and then Linux, or put it all together?
I think that Steam OS is going to make a big difference. It's going to be ground shaking from my perspective, being a Linux user and a Linux gamer. I think there's going to be a lot more available to me by the end of 2015.
Yeah, I think 2014 it fucking exploded beyond belief. There's maybe a handful of titles that when it first started, and now there's holy shit, there's so many that you can't even have the hard drive space to have it all.
Yeah, I would agree, because even now your PS4 is based on BSD. That says a lot in itself, and so I think sort of moving forward into the future, gaming is going to be having a major adoption of Linux in the future, just because it's an open platform. Okay, it's an open platform. You can do with it what you want, and so I think that maybe, I won't say 2015, but maybe 2020, Linux might be the first SKU in gaming. It may be the developing system that gets built, the way you sort of port towards everything else, and then we reap the benefits thereof. If you look at like DirectX, okay, and every few years DirectX goes through this crazy change. Okay, now if you're a developer, I mean, there's a lot invested in Windows when you first get in there. Okay, there's a lot to buy, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to set up. Okay, I mean, which way you want to go. People are gonna have to take advantage of the Linux platform, the Linux operating system, and use it to its best abilities. And so, why not take advantage of that? And I think maybe they will. I think that all the crazy changes with Microsoft is going to force them to do that. One thing I do want to say, that is really said, is that I appreciate 110% the Linux Distro community. I've learned a lot, I've broken a lot, I've fixed a lot, and I've made some great friends, and maybe one or two enemies. And the Linux Distro community has really helped me understand Linux more than I thought I really knew about it. And it's great. I like to call it the magnificent mothership. It's that people are out there learning about Linux, and at the same time making friends, and it's great that we do that right here, and that's the sort of engine that pushes us to do this. Otherwise, I would not even be talking to you right now.
I definitely feel like the Linux distro community has given me a place to call home in the Linux world of all this mix-ups and differences from this distro to that distro and who's king and who's not. I find that the LDC kind of bridges that gap by welcoming the whole broader Linux community, and yeah, I think it's a great place to call home.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. There's really not much more to say about it. It's definitely a group that I think every Linux user who's not, an asshole should join, or if not the LDC, then another group or something, but at least have the same philosophy. As long as you're running Linux, who cares what distro you're running?
That's the sort of important point of everything. It's like I don't care what distro you're running or what application you're running. I think Linux users sometimes get into the minutia of what they think is important, but it's Linux that's important, and the community that's important. And something like the Linux Distro Community that sort of pushes Linux first and the community first, ultimately we will succeed, where the haters will subside.
Do you guys have anything else to say before we call this an episode?
I do.
Go right ahead.
I'm out of beer.
Good thing, because I'm out of my whiskey on my cup.
How big?
I cannot believe that I'm even somewhat stable at this point in time. Amazing testament to my liver. But I think this is a great episode, a great idea of what Linux will come to in the future, and also it's a bit of a, I guess you could say, a test bed to see how much alcohol you can drink before everything goes totally foobar, because in that Tomb segment, I was totally messed up, and I tried my best, but it was kind of messed up, guys. But beyond that, man, in the year 2014, as we are in right now, man, I want to say thank you to both you guys for bringing me onto this podcast, and really helping people who run Linux in general. I think it's definitely necessary. We're all learning here, and I think that's what's beautiful, man. And before I get any drunker, I'll say thank you.
Yeah, and on that note, definitely, if you like the video, like the video. I expect a lot of likes for this episode. I don't know what we were doing, but if you want to comment, have a comment, leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. And Irish, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Nope, I think that does it. So you guys have a fun rest of your year, and get plastered on New Year's.
I'm
This
clapping.
show brought to you by Young Chocolate Stout and Leinenkugels, made in America. And that's it, folks.